Evie, and today I'm going to be reading to you Peace at Last by Jill Murphy. Peace at Last by Jill Murphy. Peace at Last by Jill Murphy. The hour was late. Mr. Bear was tired, Mrs. Bear was tired, and Baby Bear was tired. So they all went to bed. Mrs. Bear fell asleep, but Mr. Bear didn't. Mrs. Bear began to snore. Snore went Mrs. Bear. Snore, snore, snore. "Oh no," said Mr. Bear. "I can't stand this." So he got up and went to sleep in Baby Bear's room. Baby Bear was not asleep either. He was lying in bed pretending to be an aeroplane. "Meow," went Baby Bear. "Meow, meow." "Oh no," said Mr. Bear. "I can't stand this." So he got up and went to sleep in the living room. Tick-tock went the living room clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. "Cuckoo, cuckoo." "Oh no," said Mr. Bear. "I can't stand this." So he went off to sleep in the kitchen. Drip, drip went the leaky kitchen tap. Went the refrigerator. "Oh no," said Mr. Bear. "I can't stand this." So he got up and he went to sleep in the garden. Well, you would not believe what noises there are in the garden at night. "To-wit, to-woo," went the owl. "Snuffle, snuffle," went the hedgehog. "Meow," sang the cats on the wall. "Oh no," said Mr. Bear. "I can't stand this." So he went off to sleep in the car. It was cold in the car and uncomfortable, but Mr. Bear was so tired that he didn't notice. He was just falling asleep when all the birds started to sing and the sun peeped in at the window. "Tweet, tweet," went the birds. "Shine, shine," went the sun. "Oh no," said Mr. Bear. "I can't stand this." So he got up and went back inside the house. In the house, Baby Bear was asleep, and Mrs. Bear had turned over and wasn't snoring anymore. Mr. Bear got into bed and closed his eyes. "Peace at last," he said to himself. Brrr, went the alarm clock. Brrr. Mrs. Bear sat up and rubbed her eyes. "Good morning, dear," she said. "Did you sleep well?" "Not very well, dear," yawned Mr. Bear. "Never mind," said Mrs. Bear. "I'll bring you a nice cup of tea." And she did. I hope you liked that book. Wombat Stew. Today I will be reading Wombat Stew. One day, on the banks of the Billabong, a very clever dingo caught a wombat and decided to make wombat stew, gooey, brewy, yummy, chewy wombat stew. Platypus came ambling up the bank. "Good day, Dingo," he said, snapping his bill. "What is all the water for?" "I'm brewing up a gooey, chewy stew with that
fat wombat, replied Dingo with a toothy grin. If you ask me, said Platypus, the best thing for a gooey stew is mud. Big blobs of Billabong mud. Blobs of mud? Dingo laughed. What a good idea. Right, in they go. So Platypus scooped up big blobs of mud with his tail and tipped them into the billy can. Around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, wombat stew, gooey brewy, yummy chewy, wombat stew. Waltzing from the shade of the iron barks came Emu. She arched her graceful neck over the brew. Oh ho, Dingo, she fluttered. What have we here? Gooey chewy wombat stew, boasted Dingo. If only it were a bit more chewy, she sighed. But don't worry, a few feathers will set it right. Feathers? Dingo smiled. That will be chewy. Right-o, in they go. So into the gooey brew, Emu dropped her finest feathers. Around and around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, wombat stew, crunchy munchy for my lunchy, wombat stew. Old Blue Tongue the lizard came sliding off his sun-soaked stone. Silly Dingo, he hissed. There are no flies in the stew. Can't be a wombat stew without a crunchy flies in it. And he stuck out his bright blue tongue. There's a lot to be said for flies, agreed Dingo, rubbing his paws together. Righto, in they go. So Lizard snapped 100 flies from the air with his long tongue and flipped them into the gooey chewy stew. Around and around the bubbling billy, Dingo danced and sang, wombat stew, crunchy munchy for my lunchy, wombat stew. Up through the red dust popped Echidna. Wait a bit, not so fast, he bristled, shaking the red dust from his quills. Now I've been listening to all this advice, and take it from me. For a munchy stew, he needs slugs and bugs and creepy crawlies. Dingo wagged his tail. Why, I should have thought of that. Righto, in they go. So Echidna dug up all sorts of creepy crawlies and dropped them into the gooey, chewy, crunchy stew. The very clever Dingo stirred and stirred all the while singing, wombat stew, hot and spicy, oh so nicey, wombat stew. Just then the sleepy-eyed koala climbed down the scribbly gum tree. Look here, he yawned. Any bush cook knows you can't make a spicy stew without gum nuts. Leave it to koala to think of gum nuts, Dingo laughed and licked his whiskers. Righto, in they go. And into the gooey, chewy, crunchy, munchy stew, koala shook lots of gum nuts. Aha, cried Dingo. Now my stew is missing only one thing. What's that? Asked the animals. The fat wombat. Wait, stop. Hang on, Dingo. You can't put that wombat into the stew yet. Why not? You haven't tasted it. Righto, I'll taste it. And that very clever Dingo bent over the billy and took a great big slurp of the stew. I'm poisoned, he howled. You've all tricked me. and he dashed away deep into the bush, never again to sing. Wombat stew, gooey brewy, yummy chewy, wombat stew. And that is the end of Wombat Stew.
Class picture day. When the photographer says cheese, stick out your tongue, said Amy. Okay, said Richard. Okay, I said. The picture came back. Amy is smiling. Richard is smiling. My whole class is smiling. I'm sticking out my tongue. Amy put her picture in a folder. Richard put his picture in his book bag. I put my picture in the trash. Just as I was leaving, my teacher said, "Don't forget your picture." We got on the bus. Amy showed her picture to the bus driver. Richard showed his picture to the big kids. I stuck my picture between the seats. Just as I was leaving, the bus driver said, "Don't forget your picture." When we got off the bus, Amy ran home with her picture. Richard ran home with his picture. I put my picture in the dog's house. Just as I was leaving, my dog ran up to me. He had my picture in his mouth. I had to take my picture home. So I took out my red marker. Now Amy is sticking out her tongue. Richard is sticking out his tongue. My teacher is sticking out her tongue. My whole class is sticking out their tongues. I think I'll frame this one. The end.